okay, why don't we start? Why don't you start with your name and what business you're with?
Sure. So Olivia Dobbs, and we're with Hidden Springs Christmas Tree Farm.
Yeah, and that's been around for quite a while.
62 years we're celebrating this year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, I mean, I'll ask your dad too, but how did that get started?
So my great-grandparents bought the property in 1934.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So there was nothing.
It was like there was a little cabin, I believe. But it was like orchards and just kind of like rangeland. And so my great-grandparents bought the property. They both worked for the city of Atascadero way back in the day. And so when they bought it, it was kind of way outside of town, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So now we are located smack in town. But it was my great-grandparents farmed some wheat on it for a little while, some alfalfa, I believe. My grandpa grew up there, Fred Frank. And then he went to college at Humboldt for forestry, came back and was like, and my great-grandpa retired, and my grandpa was like, let's plant some Christmas trees because I'm a forester. Cool. So yeah, so they started out with just some native Monterey Pines. It was pretty old school. You drove down the driveway, gave a honk, and they gave you a saw and
get to it.
Yeah, and you paid like $5 cash.
Oh, really?
Like it was wild. So that's the history. And so my great-grandparents ran it, then handed it off to my grandpa and my grandma for a while. And now they've handed it off to my parents, and me and my brother also help. So 4th generation farmer.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I got a few of those people, coming through here. I had Fallon, and they're like 6th generation cow farmers.
Yeah, the cattle ranches have quite the legacy.
It's pretty crazy.
Around here.
So you started with that, and then, I mean, there's different species of trees, right, that you guys have on your property now.
Yeah.
So did that start with your great-grandparents, your grandparents?
So I think it's once my grandpa started taking over, they kind of started adding different types of trees to kind of see what grew well here. The farm there's a bunch of different like microclimates on it. So the Graves Creek runs through it. And so there's some areas that are more wooded and more shady, I guess. So certain trees grow better there. In the full sun, the Monterey Pines thrive. So those grow really well. So we've kind of find that the different microclimates, we can grow different type of trees. So, and then there's also, it's a forested environment. So we interplant everything. So we don't have basically the room to go through and clear cut a lot.
Yeah.
As most typical tree farms do. They go through with planting machines and big mowers and all the technology and do that. But we go by hand, plant the Christmas trees.
Wow.
So when one cuts down, there's a stump left. We plant right next to it. So we're never turning over the soil. A lot of regenerative agricultural practices go into it, but because everything's interplanted, lots of different species, it helps with bug mitigation and some of that kind of stuff.
So how did you guys learn how to do that? I mean, it's obviously been passed down, but planting a new tree right next to a stump, is that ever an issue? No? Or is it?
I think my dad would be better answering that question, but I do know that like they used to try to dig them up.
I'm sure that was a pain, though.
I can't even imagine. It just seems like so much effort, but because the root system is so intricate and everything's interconnected underground, so I would imagine it's just keeping all the nutrients in the soil, and it's just I mean, it makes it easier. Right, it's so much easier.
Pulling out all those stumps every year.
Yeah, I can't even and knowing my grandpa, it's probably like he had some tool and it took him 2 days to fix. So it was like some tool from the 50s and like never worked. So 2 days to get it to run, and then it never actually worked. So
oh, that's so funny. So you guys are gearing up. So this is so what is your busiest season? I'm assuming now, but when does that start?
So opening day is Black Friday. The morning of Black Friday, we open at 10 a.m.
Okay.
We will never open before Thanksgiving. So we enjoy our Thanksgiving and then we get to work. But it's farming, so it's year round in terms of like everything that we're doing.
Right.
Pruning, planting, irrigation, and then we kind of like, since we are a seasonal business, we kind of need to like get everything back in order. So October and November is spent just kind of getting the farm ready to have people on it again.
Yeah.
And then like, because we do interplanting, our customer base is a little, for the most part, I think it's greater than what we have available on the farm. So we do bring in some pre-cuts, and that's a big effort to kind of bring in some of those. We also can't grow those type of trees. So Nordmans and Nobles, the ones that you see at Home Depot, etc., they grow great up in Oregon.
Yeah, I see a lot of them come down.
Yeah. So we have a tree farmer in the Christmas Tree Association. They help us bring some from their farm down, and we help supplement. But because of that, I go through and I tag every single tree that I want to sell for the year. So I walk the farm and
you're getting your steps in for that.
Yes. Yeah. So 10 acres of trees. And I go through and I say, like, I price it out. I put the height right on there, the type of tree right on there, and each tag is every tree is individually tagged for a certain price point.
Nice. So it's a farm year round. And you guys are prepping for this season, but what is the other 11 months look like for you guys?
Yeah,
right?
So basically, like, Christmas tree season ends, we take like a little break, and then it's just kind of like rainy season.
Yeah.
We take a little break, and then it's just kind of like right back into it. So we'll start planting seedlings February, March time frame. Do that all by hand. That kind of goes into, we plant certain types of trees earlier, it seems like. My dad might have a better understanding of this. And then like the Monterey Pines, we kind of plant a little bit later than some of the other species. So then that leads us into spring. And then we start irrigation. So we do overhead watering as well as dripping. Because it's hot here in the summer. Like,
definitely is.
Not native for some Colorado blue spruces that we grow on the farm.
Oh, okay. So they need to be helped a little bit.
They need a little help. And then my dad, the expert farmer, he's the pruner. So he goes through pretty much all summer and fall and prunes every tree.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot of manual labor. I'm not a great pruner. I will admit that myself.
You're like, I'm okay with that though.
Farming is hard work.
Yeah, it definitely is.
But yeah, certain types of trees need to be pruned more often. So the Monterey Pines, they just grow so fast. We can get a 7 foot Monterey Pine in 5 years. And so those need pruning like a few times out of the year, while like the spruces, the Colorado blue spruce or the white spruce that we grow, they're so slow. It takes about 15 years on average to get a 6 to 7 foot tree, right?
Crazy.
Yeah, which is, especially when you have kids coming to the farm, you're like, the tree you bought was older than you. Did you know that?
Yeah, I can't even. I mean, you're like, yeah, it's 5 years is short. I'm like, it must be longer than for the other trees then.
Yeah. And some, like, especially in the shade, they seem to go really, really slow.
Right.
So yeah, it's a lot of people don't know that, like, it is an actual farm. Like, when they come onto the farm, it's like they're so used to going to big box stores, and it's like the tree's just there, right? You don't know the backstory around it. So we do try to do a little bit of education on the farm, but like we want people to know that when you come on, like, this is a live tree. It's been taken care of for so long. Like, this is now coming home with you. But like when you cut it down, you do, like, it is the end of its life, but at the same time. Because you do cut that down, that gives us the opportunity to then plant 2 or 3 more seedlings for that one tree. So it is quite the cyclical process.
But it's definitely a different kind of perspective, right? Or mindset, right? Because, like most people, they, a temporary tree farm or whatever, and they're already pre-cut, and you're like, I want that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and they don't know the backstory that, like, okay, like in your yard, how long did it take you to get that one plant to like get to the size you wanted it to? There's kind of a disconnect there. It's surprising.
Definitely. Yeah, we used to do. So I grew up in San Luis, and we used to go to Napomo, and it's this kind of similar thing that you guys did.
Hallways?
I don't know what it was called, but it was from the Mellows, because I went to school with the Mellows, and they have they're Portuguese, and they've been there forever. But yeah, we cut it down just like exactly what you're talking about. And my dad get angry and like, I gotta get this tree on the car. It's just like the Griswold's Christmas every Christmas.
Yes.
So,
the kids want the ginormous tree.
The ginormous tree. And Napomo from San Luis is not a short drive either. So he's like stressing out, and we're just like hopped up on candy.
Which is so funny because we actually have a bunch of clientele that comes up from LA now.
Oh, and they go all the way down with it?
Yeah. During COVID, it was kind of wild because everybody was traveling by car up and down. So they'd go from the Bay Area to LA and they'd stop on our farm, walk around, get their tree. But it kind of like opened the floodgates of like we have a lot more people coming up because they want like the real Christmas tree farm experience. And there's not too many Christmas tree farms south of like the Central Coast.
Really?
So there's a couple like outside of LA, a couple in San Diego, but
I'm trying to think. I don't know if Oak Glen had one. That's where we get when we were living in Palm Springs. We go out to Oak Glen, and I don't think we cut them though. I think they were still. Yeah, I think you're right.
Kind of a lot, yeah.
So you get a lot of LA people, but also San Francisco people. Really?
Yeah, a lot of people from the Valley come over. King City, Modesto.
And I'm assuming they've been coming since COVID. That's 4 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is, and we kind of do a loyalty program. So we send them a little, like a reminder card and a postcard in the mail. It's like
nice.
$5 off for our loyalty customers. We've done that for years and years. So yeah, we kind of like know where people are, and it's not just Central Coast people, which is always mind-boggling. But then I would say every year about a third of our clientele is new.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, so how do you keep up with the demand? Because you only have a certain amount of property to grow trees, right? I mean, obviously you said you bring in some stuff, but really, ideally, you'd like people to cut them down on your property.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Sometimes it's just it is what it is in terms of we've got a limited quantity, and that's what it is. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a good position as far as a business is to be in. You're like, hey, first come, first serve.
It really is, yeah. And people know. So like Black Friday, like people gear up and they come like 9 a.m. on the dot to come. Like
people are waiting.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And it's our seasons, I feel like, have just gotten shorter and shorter over the years. So now we're open 3 weekends and then we sell out.
And that's longer than, or no, you mean shorter than usual.
Yeah, I think 1 year, was that COVID? No, maybe it was the year after. We were only open for 2 weekends. Yeah, it was wild. And that's just a lot of people coming on the farm at one time.
That's like crazy.
But 3 weekends is kind of our sweet spot. So
that is a lot of work though. For 3, just you're like, okay.
Yeah, the entire build up to 3 weekends.
You're like, I need everybody on deck to do these 2-3 weeks of the year.
Yes. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, and everyone's like, I'm sure, like, no more Christmas trees after the 3 weeks. I don't want to lift another tie down another Christmas tree, right? Well, that's awesome. So what else do you guys do? Or what kind of, let's go through the, I mean, maybe that's a question for your dad, but what kind of breeds do you guys have on the property?
Yeah, so the Monterey Pine native, that's one. The Incense Cedar, it's kind of like this, they're really tall, pretty bushy. They've got like a lacy needle. And those kind of help with some of the pest control on the farm, but they're beautiful. So like the longer the needle, the more fragrant. So those are probably our most fragrant trees. Average height, when they look the best, average height's probably around 8 to 10 feet tall. And then some of our shorter varieties, a little slower growing, the white spruce and the blue spruce. We have very limited quantities of those. So like I don't tag a whole lot every year of those, just knowing that it's going to take them so long to grow that I need to keep a few on hand, especially if we want different sizes every year.
Yeah.
And then Doug fir, most popular. That's a lot of people have those as pre-cuts too.
Yeah.
They just grow like in the very typical, like perfect little Christmas
like
tree
triangle
shape.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't take too much pruning to get into that shape. But those are our most popular. Like people love those. They want those every year. They are actually pet friendly, so non-toxic to pets.
Oh, well, that's always
if
good.
That's a concern.
Yeah.
And then we've got some Scotch pines. Really prickly, but like if you love big ornaments, like a Scotch pine is a perfect tree because like it's not gonna droop at all. Like those, it's hefty. And then I'm trying to think of what other. Am I missing a breed? A white fir. These look a lot different than white firs that grow anywhere else around the country. They're really spacey, so they kind of grow flat and out. They've got like these big gaps in them. And those are kind of also a slow growing variety, and they grow in the shade. Yeah, but those are beautiful. Like if you have a lovely, like, I have a giant soccer ball ornament because I was a soccer player, and it's like it fits perfectly in
the
the nice gap.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, because the kids always weigh down like the tree with all the ornaments and stuff. I'm like, and it's all
and it's amazing that everybody has their own like design element for their tree. Like a lot of people, some people want a super bushy tree that like the ornaments kind of lay on top.
Yeah.
And like I want to be able to see them. So like I like the big gappy trees that like.
Yeah. That would be such a problem at my house. My cat would get in there like just instantly with the little gaps.
Yeah.
So you said that one was non-toxic. Toxic. Are the other ones toxic to like if the dogs eat the pine needles? Is that what you're saying, or
like yes, if they
not that
like
they're gonna eat it, but...
right? If they really went ham on the tree, probably not fantastic. I think some of the spruce varieties are not great.
Yeah.
But if you have cats that love to like be playing in your tree, climbing around,
my cats
drinking the water, etc.
Yeah, not great. Sweet. So you guys are gearing up, and. So what's the plan like kind of in the future? Are we still kind of like trying to fit the demand for everything and trying to grow a little bit? Because you only have so much space, right?
Yeah.
So
only so much space. We as a family have kind of talked about it is such a beautiful space.
Yeah.
That like my great grandparents, my parents have created at the farm. Like my grandpa planted a bunch of redwoods in the 60s. So they're just beautiful and massive, and it honestly looks like you're walking through the forest. It's like a little slice of forest in the middle of downtown Atascadero, which is kind of wild.
Yeah.
But so we would love to expand and have more people at the farm year round. Maybe doing events of some sort, maybe weddings down the road.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and we have an Airbnb on the farm, so you can come stay.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we converted my great grandparents' house is there, and we converted part of that into an Airbnb. So a cool little history. But that's kind of the goal down the road, is just to make it more accessible to people throughout the year, because it's such a beautiful place.
Yeah.
And we are in the Land Conservancy, so our farm is and will always be agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the trees, but then we've also got some pastures and rangeland as part of the property.
Oh, okay. So there's like what, cattle or something on there?
We've got cattle, and then my parents have got some sheep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and then it is like a wildlife refuge at this point.
Yeah. I mean, it's all good though, because I mean, it's it's you're still using the land instead of strip malls and buildings.
Yeah, and like nobody really thinks about this, but forest land is like one of the best oxygen, like clean air producers in the world, and so I like to think that we're doing our part for our community.
You guys definitely are, with all the trees you guys are planting. Yeah, for sure. So what was I gonna say? So with the pine trees, is there any like pests that you guys have to like contend with like over the course of the year?
That's a great question for the farmer.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'd love to know that. Let's see what else. Where can people find you? And are you on Instagram and all that stuff?
Yes. So Hidden Springs Tree Farm on Instagram. We've got a Facebook, same handle. And then our website, Hidden Springs Christmas Tree Farm or Hidden Springs Tree Farm. I try to post, and I'm getting better at it.
Hey,
but
tell me about it. I know, 'cause I know you're paying.
I like get ready. I've got my post ready, and then I don't have a photo, and I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah, exactly. I know. I'm starting to get into like the scheduling too. I'm just schedule it, and then it'll go out, and I don't have to worry about it. And,
yeah. And it's hard when like during sales season, it's a lot easier because I have content.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like I've got the popcorn popper making. We've got Christmas music at the barn. Like it's festive. It's all decorated. And then like throughout the year, it's just like we're just farming.
Yeah.
So
right.
yeah, it's a little more difficult to have like fun content during the rest of the year. So I'm much more active on social media during Christmas time.
During Christmas time.
Yeah.
Do you guys like contribute to any of like the holiday stuff going on, like the parades and all the stuff that's kind of going on now, like Cambria lights or the parades or what else? What's the one in Paso? The Vine Street Market.
Yeah. So we actually we've been trying to advertise a little bit more to businesses.
Yeah.
And so we have some very large trees on the farm, and so we think it's like perfect for businesses. But we haven't done too much with we always donate a tree to the conservancy. They have the White Barn out in Santa Margarita. They always have a big tree. Sorry, San Luis. And then the Chamber of Commerce, we always donate to that, and then we do donations to the bases around here. I think Camp Roberts is coming this week to get a tree. And then we have a few businesses. So last year, Central Coast Beer Company up in Paso, they got this massive redwood from us. I think it was like 30 feet tall.
Is that Firestone?
No, Central Coast Beer. It's do you know where the backyard is?
Yeah.
In Paso?
Yeah.
It's the brewery right next to it. And they have that cool like outdoor courtyard with the amphitheater. So they had this massive, beautiful 30-foot redwood.
Oh my gosh.
in there. So they're coming again this year. And
they're like, we're
going
to do that again.
Yeah, and then the Paso Market Walk.
Oh yeah.
They're going to have one of our big cedars in their place.
Yeah, those are good spots to throw them in there.
Yeah.
Like hotels, Carlton, you know. And hopefully they get you another one in the other San Luis market, right? Because they got that one too. And that other place that's I think it is open now in San Luis. What is it? The farm off this freeway there.
Oh yeah, I just went.
Yeah, that's all
really
open.
Cool. Yeah, they had a pumpkin patch there, I think, this year. Yeah.
And corn maze. All the things.
Oh, should definitely contact them. It's amazing that we are active in the Chamber of Commerce in Atascadero, but it is kind of amazing that we're still flying under the radar a little bit. I'm like 62 years and still not a lot of people know about us.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can change that a little bit. You know, getting you guys on here and pushing it out. All right. Well, what do you want to? What else do we need to mention with you? What else do you want to get out there before we switch you?
Oh yeah. Gosh, I don't know.
I just put you on the spot. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. You're like, oh, now that you asked me about it.
I know. I'm really trying to think.
So what do people need to know, or what are kind of like people's misconceptions about coming to, you know, a locally grown Christmas tree farm?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's somehow bad for the environment because you're cutting down a Christmas tree when you come to our farm.
Yeah.
And my kind of take on that is like you're supporting local agriculture when you're doing that. And you're not just cutting down the tree, you're allowing for the replanting of more trees.
Yeah.
And so I think that is quite still a big misconception. And then we try to do everything very environmentally friendly and regenerative agriculture, making those our principles. But like your Christmas tree is a totally biodegradable resource.
Yeah.
So there's some really great programs happening where you can obviously like recycle your Christmas tree through the city.
Yeah.
They have a program, but a lot of people don't know this, but they're starting to around the country have some really cool programs for it. Like in New Orleans, they created a damming program, so they take all the recycled Christmas trees to help build up some of the dams because the city has such a concern about flooding. Yeah. So they're doing some really great some work around the country, and the National Christmas Tree Farm Association is helping with that. So just some. It's amazing to me that it's still kind of a misconception. So just kind of want to put that out there.
Yeah, of course. So do people get bummed out when they have to do that? When they realize, oh, I mean, I don't know if they would come into your business and be like, oh, I got to cut down a tree. I don't know if they would have that. I mean, maybe they would and be bummed out.
It's occasionally, yes.
Really?
Yeah, but it's I think a lot more when I'm talking to people about our family business.
Oh, okay.
Like, yeah, we're Christmas tree farmers. And they're like, well, I go fake. And I'm like, okay, well, you're shipping that from China. It's full of PVC, which is
plastic,
which is like a cancerous toxin.
Yeah.
And so, it's just amazing that I think that there's really a big disconnect between agriculture and the majority of the population in America today.
Yeah.
And so like, I created this fun little spinning wheel for the kids on the farm. And it's like, will you survive to be a Christmas tree? And so the kids spin it, and it's got like all these different little pieces of the pie. And it's like there's only 4 spots on the wheel that says like you'll actually be a Christmas tree. The rest is like you die of root rot, or
no.
you got eaten by a squirrel, or you got some fungus or something like that. And it's like, I think it's really eye-opening, the fact that like there's a reason why we only tag so many trees on the farm, like wanting to keep some for the next years coming up. But like, it is important that people know that, like, okay, like this wasn't an easy process. Like this.
No. How could it be? You know.
Yeah. And so trying to do a little bit of education as people come onto the farm and like talk to them about what Christmas tree farming entails, and that it's year round, and it's basically like any other agricultural crop.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean that's great. I mean all that. I think I mean, some people are just lazy and they're like, yeah, we got some plastic trees. And, then old folks, like my parents are like, I don't really want to break my back putting a tree in the house and stuff. But,
for sure.
But no, I'm happy to do it every year. I'm like, come on, help me, And it's like I help my dad, put the Christmas tree up. And I get yelled at. That's just part of it.
Yeah.
and then it's the same thing happens this year. My kids help me bring it in, and I'm like, you need to wash it down, and we need to wait, and help me mount it and put in the thing. I think I have my Christmas tree base over there somewhere. We just dug it out somewhere.
And that is one thing that I think we've always tried to do on the farm, is that we try to make it accessible for everybody.
Yeah.
So I know that everybody has a certain price point that they can reach during the Christmas season, and so we want to make sure that everybody who comes to our farm can get a Christmas tree, because it's for Christmas. That's what it's about, right?
Yeah, of
it's
course.
Spending time with your family and celebrating the holiday together. And so we've got some like real funky trees on the farm.
Oh, really?
Real funky.
Like the Charlie Brown Christmas tree?
Yes, exactly. And so we tag them as our rescue and our misfit trees. And so we go through and we give them fun names. I think I named one yesterday, like Archibald asparagus, because it was just like this like really tall, skinny tree.
Oh, that's awesome.
It had like four branches. But then they're really affordable, right? So we try to make them, and they've become a hit. They are a fad.
Oh, people like them.
People love them. So every year they come and they want their misfit tree. And they keep the little tag with the fun name on it, and it's like totally a thing now. But
you have to keep that up too.
We've really set ourselves up for that one. But it's a fun thing, and I just like but in terms of like some older people coming onto the farm and stuff, like always have the resources to help them. But we also like those misfits are perfect because some of them are really small, because we don't tag anything under 5 feet on the farm. That's just kind of how we manage making sure that there's enough crop left. And so some of the misfits, like it might be a really funky tree and it might be like 2 feet tall, and like we'll make sure that that's tagged. And so somebody who has an apartment or like they don't have space, like making sure that like they have something that they can come find.
So you have to come up with names every year. New names.
Yes, it's wide, like hundreds of names.
Hundreds of
Me and my mom will be out there just like going back and forth, like trying to find something fun, and it's like a lot of puns, lots of tree puns.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Little dad jokes, little puns.
Yes, exactly. A lot of Christmas characters. So.
Oh, cool.
But the kids love them because, like, if
they get it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if they can't decide on a tree, then it's like, oh, well, what about like?
We want the sad one.
Yeah. What about? Yeah. Exactly. What about the abominable snowman? Like.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
So I'm sure like through the years you're like, I need help naming these trees now. Right.
Yes. We like in our family group chat, sometimes we'll just randomly text. I'll be like, this is the perfect name for the misfits. So we've got like a list of them a little bit.
Get a whole team of tree naming people.
Yeah. But if anybody watching has a suggestion,
let
me know.
There you go. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Do it on the Instagram. Message them on the Instagram for sure. Well, sweet. Anything else you want to add before we put your dad in?
Let's let him talk. He's the true farmer.
There you go.
I'm just the support and millennial here.
You're the namer though.
Yeah,
that's important. Yeah. That's important. All right, you wanna come up and there's water and coffee if you need it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
How's that?
That's perfect. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Great.
Sweet. All right. Well, why don't you introduce yourself and we'll kind of start from there.
Craig Dobbs, and I guess I married the farmer's daughter.
Yeah, you definitely did.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming her parents were the tree farmers. Yeah.
Yeah. Her dad Fred and her mom Pat were Fred's the son of the original of great grandma and great grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fred, I think, is my father-in-law was primarily the force behind a lot of the stuff that, I mean,
that's still there.
Grew up a farmer. I mean, he was in Cal Fire, so he never, he it's not like he did that full time.
Oh, the trees. Yeah.
Yeah. He retired from Cal Fire, but definitely a son of a big time farmer, great grandpa, and born in Minnesota, 13 kids farming.
Oh my gosh.
A bunch of them moved out here to the colony in Atascadero early on.
Yeah.
And, that's how he ended up out here. And then they farmed all over, picked orchard. There used to be orchards all over town. Fred, when he was like 12, 13 years old, would take flats of pears down to the corner of San Anselmo and El Camino, which used to be 101, right?
Oh, crazy.
And
You're right. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So lots of farming experience in the family. My wife, Orly, I mean, she's got the green thumb for sure.
I mean, she kind of had. I mean, after years and years of it, you know, you would have to.
I just observed and listened, and kind of accumulated some knowledge over the years.
I'm sure you have.
I didn't come from a farming family.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, everybody that I've had in here, I mean, they haven't been doing a lot of stuff. Like the mushroom guy, like he just started it, you know. And I'm sure it's the same way as with you guys, you know. They didn't know anything, and then he's like, oh, I really like this. He started doing the garage. I mean, this is for mushrooms specifically, but and now he's distributing all over the county with mushrooms.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And farmers are a generous people, generally speaking, in terms of knowledge, and if you can, we started going. Fred and Pat had kind of stopped for a while, and when we kind of really started taking over the business, we started going. There's actually a Christmas tree farm association in California, and there's a couple of meetings a year, and they're at somebody's farm, and it's amazing how much I've learned over the years going to these other places, and they say, here's what we did wrong, or here's what we did right, and it's been great.
So how many Christmas tree farms? I mean, she was saying not too many in California, though.
Well, for sure they've gone down in Southern California, for sure.
Right.
And basically from here, there used to be one in King City. Not sure if it's there anymore. There's some people in our association in the kind of Hollister area.
Okay.
But if you get further south from that, the workload is exponential, I think, for growing Christmas trees, is because we have to irrigate.
Yeah.
And that's a huge part of the job.
Right.
If you're in Santa Cruz or Placerville or even farther north in Santa Rosa, Petaluma.
Yeah.
I think they maybe had to do a little bit of seedling irrigation during the drought, but they don't have to water. So,
because they get so much rain.
They get so much rain.
Yeah. Yeah, that would make sense. And then also, if it's pre-cut, I mean, it's a lot more distance, right? Like driving wise, like if it's pre-cut too. I mean, not a tree farm, not necessarily, but yeah.
Yeah, these are all primarily just choose and cut is what we call it.
Yeah.
Is where you go to somebody's farm and cut the tree down that are in the Tree Farm Association. There are some people who have lots in the association as well, but they're growing their trees mostly in Oregon and where.
Right. So what are the kind of the challenges of growing, keeping up a Christmas tree farm? Because it's got to be difficult because farming in general is hard, and then not only that, it's your season's pretty small too, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah. The sell season, and, luckily our kids help us a lot.
Yeah.
We literally could not do this without their help.
Right.
But during the other parts of the year, it's just primarily, Orly and I doing. I mean, Olivia and her husband Ryan have helped us a ton with the planting. Mm-hmm. My son has come down and helped some with that too, and some of the equipment, he helps with. But the planting is a big job. It's a really big job, and it lasts a long time just
Yeah.
because of how we farm. So Fred started doing the interplanting. Most, like you were down in Napomo, and most people down there, they grow it in blocks.
Okay.
So they'll grow, and they have some really pretty Montereys. I mean, they can grow them fast down there because the season is year-round growing season down there. They don't get too cold.
Oh, okay.
Right? So
yeah, we get cold here for sure, and
right,
really hot.
Right. So most of our conifers, except the Monterey Pines, kind of go dormant. They only have a short growing season, probably from, February to mid-July. Starts getting hot, and they just kind of go, okay, we're done.
Yeah.
That's why you don't have to prune them so much, right? Because they're only growing a little bit a year. Monterey Pines grow all year round. And in Napomo, they grow really good all year round. So they can get trees pretty fast. But Fred's whole idea with the interplanting, so we have trees of all sizes growing next to each other. So it has to be done by hand. You can't run a machine through there. There are planting machines, but we have to plant everything by hand because we kind of got to pick out a spot, right? We can put one here.
Yeah.
We can put one underneath a tree that's 6 feet tall, give it a little shade for a couple years, or we can put one here. There's no trees here; they all got cut down. We can put Montereys in here. So we kind of have to work our way out, and sometimes we put slow growers, shady trees in places that aren't so shady. It's a whole. It's a
whole world.
Yeah, and so that's the spring work.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the year is pretty much irrigation, mowing, and pruning.
Yeah. And then how is that, like, as far as like in the summer months, as far as like pests or anything, or is there anything you have to contend with during the rest of the year?
Yeah, Fred he pretty, I think, very forward looking with the intergenerational. His whole idea with that is he didn't want to have to spray.
Yeah.
On the farm. He wanted, even back in the 70s and 60s when he was kind of pushing to have more trees planted, he didn't want to do a lot of that. So since we've been doing it, we don't use any insecticide on our farm.
Which is great.
Yeah, it's great for us.
Yeah.
Because we live there.
Right.
I work there.
Yeah.
It's great for
every
me.
day.
And it's great for the customers.
Yeah.
And one of the ways we're able to do that is the interplanting of different species, different size. So usually what happens, and it's not that we don't have some bugs and some kind of needle cast, which is kind of a fungus, happens on the tree. All kinds of different things can happen. But the idea behind it is if that bug likes a 4-foot Doug fir, and you have 1,000 4-foot Doug firs right next to it, well, then you have a problem.
Yeah, right.
But with everything interplanted, maybe it doesn't like a 6-foot Doug fir, or maybe it doesn't like a 2-foot. It likes it just that particular, or it definitely doesn't like a cedar, or it definitely doesn't like a Monterey pine. So it never gets out of control.
Gotcha.
And I mean, we used to do a little bit of neem oil every once in a while if there was spider mites or some other mites and stuff. Then Fred figured out if he just sprayed it with water, it helped. And we just really don't have to do. It's not that we don't have a few issues every once in a while, and maybe I'll cut out a tree that I think, that looks funky.
Yeah.
I'll just cut it out and be done with it.
Oh, that's so interesting. So they're all kind of different planted together, so you don't really have to worry about, like, it's not really a monocrop, but like monocrop,
Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And so those kind of bugs, we have a few things that we definitely have to deal with on a management level. The Monterey Pines get a gall rust, which is it's just a function of it's endemic to the area because they are not native here. And then when you're always pruning them, they always have a wound on them, right? And so you kind of get this gall rust, and you can kind of deal with it if you stay with it. If you kind of let it get out of hand. There's been farms. There used to be a farm here, Fred said, that they just basically had to tear everything out because
of that?
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
we do that, and we'll go out in January. That's like one of the first things we do is go out and try to cut it all out. We'll walk through the whole farm and cut as much. You never get it all, but you kind of just keep it at bay a little bit. But because, you know, as things are warm different times of the year now, you know, the dates that we used to be like, you know, you get it done by February 1st because then it'll start kind of sporing, right? And I can't prune when it's sporing. That's kind of one of our management plans, right? So I wait until it's done before I can start pruning the Monterey Pines again.
Oh, I see.
But now it's kind of shifting, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's a little later.
Right.
And sometimes it's a little earlier. It's, you know, as the weather is changing and the...
Right. Yeah. How was the last 2 really rainy seasons? How was that for you guys? Was it good? Was it bad? Were you like, oh no, there's so much like, you know, rain. Like I know everybody got flooded out, you know, a lot of people did.
Yeah. Well, we have 4 different lots, and we call them lots, but they're basically just different areas of the farm. And the one we have kind of an old kind of a floodplain down by the creek that 2 years ago. It was under 2 feet of water twice.
Jeez.
So and so I had to go down there and lift up every tree, tamp it back in. It's amazing. It's amazing how resilient they are. They're literally pushed over by all the debris.
Yeah.
And then you pull the debris off and put them back up. And I'm like, I wonder if this is going to live. And it's amazing. Yeah.
It worked just fine for the most part?
Yeah.
Wow.
Other than, you know, the 3 weeks I had to spend down there.
Yeah, you're like,
that could have been doing something else.
Yeah, of course. But you're like, hey, I got to do this. So yeah, a lot of trees fell down, you know, during that 2 years ago.
We had some oaks and but generally speaking, more, you know, we like the rain. We don't have to water as much.
Right. So that was good for business the last 2 years.
Yeah, and the trees love it.
Trees love it too, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So do they grow? Is it, since it was such a big change that last 2 years? Was it better for the trees, or were they trying to like figure out what's going on, or like they're just growing faster, or?
Exactly, and that's, you know, one of the reasons I think the drought. Well, I'm trying to think of when that was. That was maybe 8 or 9 years ago. There was like 3 or 4 years where we, you know, I think here in Atascadero, we got maybe 12 inches or 10 inches or something.
Yeah.
We kind of shoot for a 20 inches is, you know, or 20 to 30 inches is what we like to see by June 1st on the farm. So if we only get 10 inches, that means we got to irrigate overhead, you know, to try to keep that moisture level in the soil built up so they can last all summer.
Yeah.
But no, the rain is great. I mean, it makes it a little hard during Christmas if it rains all the time when people are coming.
Definitely.
But it doesn't, you know, really affect us that much. But they definitely grow faster. During the drought is kind of when we started bringing in a few trees from Oregon, because the trees weren't dying, but they weren't thriving.
Gotcha.
So we just weren't getting the extra, you know, the 5-footer wasn't becoming the 7-footer in a year.
Yeah.
Or 6-footer, you know, it was just staying right there. And so we had to kind of bring in a few trees to supplement, you know.
Right.
And we just kind of kept doing it. It seems to be, it's a little niche. It gets some other people out to the farm that normally wouldn't come to the farm because they got to have,
whatever,
you know, that one special tree.
Yeah.
That we can't grow here.
Right.
I mean, we can plant them. We can plant almost anything, but it might not look like it's supposed to look.
Oh, like, I see. Yeah.
We've tried to plant nobles, and, you know, we'll plant it and it'll be 6 inches tall, and like 3 years later it'll be 8 inches tall. And they just don't,
like, oh.
Or they'll grow just horizontal. They won't grow up, you know. So there's only so much we can do,
right,
with a tree like that.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, we got enough going on as it is. I mean, we'll just let the experts kind of do it at this point, right? What was I going to ask you? So what can people do? So when they cut the tree down at your place, what is the best thing to do to care for the tree after it's been cut in their house? Sure.
So we try to give every tree. First of all, it's you don't have to worry too much about it being dry or anything like that.
Yeah.
I mean, but if we kind of shake the trees, sometimes you get some of the dust. Depends on the time. It depends on if we've gotten rain like we just got. It helps a lot. But we'll give it a fresh cut if people want a fresh cut, and but it's already a fresh cut because they just cut it down.
Right.
But most important thing, and I've learned this personally from having Christmas trees now for a while in our house, is never let it go dry.
Never let it go dry. Okay.
Period.
Okay.
I mean, different people, we do sell a little bit of product that you can put in there. And some people think it's great. And some of the other farmers we've met, they swear by it, but it's really just check it every day.
Just make sure it's full.
When you first bring it in the house, you got to check it twice a day.
Okay.
Because what'll happen is if it goes dry, it doesn't take long before that tree will send sap down there, because it's an open wound, right? And that's what trees do when they get hurt. And if you don't keep that water in there, I've had to, and I've let mine go dry. We have a wood stove, and I like it nice and hot in the wintertime.
Right.
Kind of let it doesn't dry out the tree. What it does is the tree kind of gets hot, and it's like, oh, I'm going to drink some more water.
Yeah.
So you got to keep at that. That's the most important thing.
Gotcha. Okay. So just keep it, wet, and just check it, especially for the first couple of days, check it twice a day or something.
Yeah.
Like
Cause
that.
once it, moves out from its environment outside to the environment inside, just like people, it's going to want to drink some more water.
Yeah, definitely. And what has been like the most surprising thing that you kind of learned, cause you said, you didn't know anything about your Christmas tree growing to begin with, right?
No.
Right?
No, I grew up in the over in the valley.
Yeah.
In the oil fields. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's been like the most surprising thing that you think, like, now that you've been doing it for a while?
Well, probably for one, I did not think that deer were going to be as much of a problem as they are.
Oh, really?
And the property is fenced, but more for people than for deer.
Yeah.
And my father-in-law has been frustrated by this for a long time, and he tried to do some things, and we just they do a lot of damage on our trees, and which is why we kind of have misfit trees. You'll go out there and they'll just what happens is they don't eat the trees.
Yeah.
It's during the rut in the fall. The males with the bucks with their horns will rub on them.
Oh,
that's what damages the trees.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was thinking like maybe like the new growth on the ground or something like that.
There is one kind of tree that we started planting, a cypress. There's lots of different kinds of cypress. I think these are mainly Leland cypresses. They will eat those right after they've been planted. That was the only tree I've ever planted that a deer will eat. But no, it's mainly the bucks, and just that window of 3 or 4 months in the fall. When they're falling around
the ladies,
yeah,
and there's deer everywhere.
And there's deer everywhere here.
Everywhere.
So it's hard. You put up a fence and and they just go right through it. So that's been. I never realized how much of a problem, and it and because our place is kind of a natural refuge, because we have, there's some oak woodland on the property, and it's just a good place for deer.
I mean, everywhere is here. I mean, right down the street, there's like 4 or 5 bucks that I've like almost hit like numerous times.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I know.
Like, what's going on?
And then they'll just disappear.
Yeah. I mean, even driving home like on the grade, I'm like, there's 3 deer literally off the side of the road here. If they take one step onto the road, it's game over.
Yeah. And, it wasn't as much of a problem, when Fred Sr. and Fred were smaller. There wasn't as many deer around then.
And what was that? Was it just because people could take care of them, or what?
Well, no, just because I think people used to take more deer.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
People were shooting them. And
you can't shoot in the city anymore, for a long time, which is probably a good idea.
Very good idea.
And so there's just more deer around.
Yeah. So you put fences up, but is there anything else you can do, or like, I don't know if the city can do anything, nothing, or?
No, a bigger fencing, but it's just pretty expensive to do. So we've trying to do a little bit every year. And then there's some trees I planted. We started planting. We noticed that the deer really go after. So we kind of actually literally have some sacrificial trees.
Oh.
And and then I kind of do like that. She comes up with a fancy name for them, and we sell them as misfits. But that's really what they are.
Yeah.
And so some cypresses, I've noticed that the deer just love rubbing on them. Like, go ahead, go to town. Just don't do these trees over here.
Yeah.
Hopefully that works out.
Right.
That's one of the things.
Huh. I didn't. Yeah. I guess I was kind of thinking maybe more of a bug problem, but yeah, the deers are a problem here for sure. They always when we did this fence, but when it was short, they jump in and eat everything. We have a little garden in the back, and they didn't even eat it. They spit it out. I'm like, they just had a little snack, and then
they're hard on gardens too.
Yeah. My wife was like, "What has happened?"
Yeah. 6-foot fence works really good.
Yeah, and now it's much taller, and they can't get in. But yeah, they're everywhere, and they're all they're always dead on the side of the road. I'm like,
yeah. So there are major pests.
Yeah, definitely. But not really any bugs or rodents or squirrels or.
No. I mean, ground squirrels make a mess, but luckily this year we had a fox move on to the property.
Oh, nice!
And fox he cleaned them out.
Wow!
So that was really good, and just odd things. It's always something different. I mean, this year the ground nesting yellow jackets were awful.
Oh, the yeah.
The ones that eat people call them meat bees.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you're having a picnic, they come and eat the meat and stuff like that.
Exactly.
They were awful this year.
Yeah. I was wondering about that too. I'd never seen any. And then we had a little barbecue in the back and they're everywhere. They're just pounced. I'm like, where did these come from?
Yeah.
I haven't seen them at all. And it makes sense because, I mean, if they're, if it was a bad year for them, at least did they do anything to the trees or anything? Or
no,
they're just everywhere?
They do it to the tree farmer.
Oh yeah, well yeah, of course.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
yeah. So once a year, if you're working out there, you get into it with the ground nesting yellow jackets. But if you're bottom pruning, you have to kind of cut off the bottom branches, and you happen to hit one of those holes, it's not good. But so that was interesting this year. But I don't answer your question about what I've learned about that. I guess probably the good thing is that generally speaking, most people are pretty happy to go to a tree farm. I
would think so.
It's not like, some businesses, I would think.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Yeah.
But no, I think I was just trying to get at if you have been surprised at how resilient these trees are or anything like that, because you said when it fell over, you're like, oh, I'll just put them back upright and
always, I'm always
stuff
surprised.
Like that,
Yeah, and just what trees will go through even during the drought. I mean they'll live. I was over at my friend's house one time, and he has these redwoods up behind his house, kind of on the shaly part of Atascadero.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I was. He was like, "How are these doing?" I go, "Well, they're living, but they're not thriving." And that was. It's amazing that they'll hang in there,
right,
as much as they do, or they'll just. You'll see a big, beautiful type of a tree, a fir or something up in the Sierras, and if you try to plant it here, it just turns into something different. They'll try.
Yeah, but it's not exactly what you had in your mind that you're like, that's not exactly what I thought that was going to happen.
Yeah. But luckily, we don't have a lot of things that really. We have to be that will kill a tree outright on our farm.
Mm-hmm.
About the only thing we do occasionally have a gopher that has evolved to eat tree roots, but it's pretty rare. And it's only a certain height Scotch pine. Like I'll be working in the field and I'll walk over and I'll touch a pine tree or a Scotch pine, I'll just move over, but it's only like a 4-foot tree.
Mm-hmm.
And literally I can just pull it straight out and the bottom of the tree will be all eaten around.
Yeah.
But it's very few. I mean, we do have a lot of gophers, but it's not, they don't really.
They don't mess with the trees, huh?
They don't do a lot of damage with the trees. But we do, because it's an oak woodland on that side. Well, most of Atascadero is.
Yeah.
But sometimes oak root fungus will kind of be a problem for some trees because we still have, the farm is surrounded by big oaks.
Yeah.
And we even have some oak trees planted in the farm proper to provide some shade. So we can kind of expand our shade tree area. So you just have to be careful with watering. You can't overwater certain times of year when it's hot, or you can kind of activate that oak root fungus, and that'll definitely kill a tree.
Yeah. I mean, the gophers here are incredible. I mean, we've had such a problem here with the garden. Oh man, it's like, I think this year we got about 20 gophers, like in this little like quarter of an acre that we have. I'm like, this is ridiculous,
right?
Like we are like, so now we're like expert hunters now. It's like crazy. You're like, I didn't think in my vision in my future I'd be like an expert gopher hunter, but here we are.
Well, everybody has some tips, so I'll let you know what ours are. Yeah, when we're done.
Yeah, and there's this one guy, I don't know if you've seen him, this guy on Instagram, and he shoves this like gas propane down the hole, and I don't know if you've seen it, but he just explodes it, and just for Instagram, but it's like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Out in Fresno, but
yeah, they do a lot of stuff over there that
probably shouldn't do.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
So what else can we talk about? Anything else that people need to know, or coming to your farm or anything like that, or anything you want to mention to people that coming in, listening,
Yeah. One of the things I always like to tell people is this is us taking care of the property. We actually all have other careers.
Yeah.
So it's not like, that's all we do.
Right.
And so the kids, we've always had, other jobs. It's definitely a side gig, but it's a huge side gig.
Yeah, definitely.
So it takes care of the property, allows us to live, on the farm, allowed me to raise my kids on a farm, in a nice town. And
yeah.
So it's definitely a family affair. Grandpa's still around. He helps me with the equipment, and he's a master mechanic, always has been. And, stuff that needs to be fixed, he still helps with. He's long past doing any pruning or planting or anything like that.
Right.
I think the last time I asked him about a tree that looked funny, he goes, "Well, trees are just like people. Sometimes they just die." And I was like, "Well, thanks, Grandpa."
It's like the best answer.
That's good advice.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so interesting. A lot of people say that. So I don't know if you've listened to any of the other ones, but I had the hydroponic guy on, and he said the same thing. He's like, we treat these plants like athletes, and they're like people, right? And just because of his situation and what he does, he's like, I got to put artificial stress on these plants in order for them to break down their cellular wall and then build back stronger. And he's kind of said the same thing. They're like, the plants are like people.
Oh yeah, especially, I get like that too, because I spend a lot of time pruning, and you see the same tree over and over again for a long time.
Yeah.
Sometimes you recognize them, sometimes you don't, but you can tell where you kind of think, well, I'm going to prune this one this way this year, and and hopefully I'll remember it next time I come around.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've left notes on them. I prune this one tight, and then when I come back to see if that was a better way to do it or not, or sometimes you mess up and the pruner cuts off the top of the tree, and you're like, well, I better prune this one a little bit tighter so it doesn't look like I just pruned off the top of the tree. And
So you just learned that just being on the farm, then? You just learned how to prune that stuff?
Yeah. And I learned, and we've had different people try to help over the years. It's just, that's one of those jobs that it just takes kind of a certain kind of a person that doesn't mind being by themselves a lot. And, and it's we haven't really been very successful. We haven't looked real hard for other people, but we'll probably try to get some help doing that. And we're changing some of our farm, the management of it in terms of some of the bigger trees. We're kind of gonna fade out from a little bit of the bigger trees just because it's it's too much work for me.
Yeah.
And it's easier for me to prune smaller trees.
Of course. Right. Yeah. So what have you seen like over the years since you've been doing it for a while? Like, has anything changed as far as like what people are looking for, or, you know, people's attitude, or like she was saying earlier, like a lot of people have like this idea of what a Christmas tree should be, right? Just because they've grown up with it. But and it might be a already pre-cut tree, right? You know, is there a big change one way or the other, you know, as you've seen over the years?
I think, yeah, for sure. Monterey Pines used to be a lot more popular. I mean, that was primarily, if you had a tree farm south of the Bay Area, you grew Monterey Pines. Mm-hmm. And most, I think, down in Southern California, I remember when we were down there watching her play soccer one time, we went to a couple of tree farms down out in Redlands, stuff, all Monterey Pine.
Yeah.
So once a lot of trees, I mean, I guess trees have always come from Oregon, Washington. We used to have them when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. I think people get used to a certain kind of a tree and the way it looks. And because we grow so many different kinds of trees, they don't all look like that.
Right.
So that's been a challenge to get people to kind of get away from, you know, thinking about, you know, a Christmas tree's got to look one way.
Yeah.
And so you know, making it an experience just to come there and, you know, the whole family thing, I think the next generation has done a great job on Instagram and mm-hmm. Facebook at kind of promoting, you know, who we are and what kind of trees we grow, and making it more, you know, it's really a family experience. That's definitely our demographic. And I always thought, you know, the tree, I mean, we got some pretty trees, don't get me wrong, but they're just maybe not quite the same looking as
of course,
as just because, like I said before, trees are going to look different whenever you grow them.
Right. Exactly. So, but you've seen like it kind of change from Monterey to something else or something like that, or, you know, people looking for something different.
I mean, we'll probably sell as many Doug firs as we can grow in our space, mm-hmm. than we sell Monterey Pines anymore.
Gotcha.
And that was definitely because of the, you know, Doug firs coming from Oregon and Washington down here. Mm-hmm. People just are more used to it.
Yeah. They're definitely more prevalent, right? But as people's, you know, attitudes changed as well, or you find, I mean, everyone's happy to get a tree, right? So, but as far as like, you know, coming to a Christmas tree farm, you know, and it's been there for, you know, a while, have you seen like people's attitudes change, or, you know?
Yeah. I think definitely probably maybe COVID, maybe a little bit before that. I think a younger generation has been, it's definitely rejuvenated me because they've been very supportive of what we do.
Well, that's awesome.
I mean, Olivia's age and they're just really supportive of family farms and the farming and how, you know, how, you know, what it takes to get that done.
Yeah.
And not that I mean, we moved up here in 91, mm-hmm. And I started working at the tree farm. I didn't do as much farming back then. I kind of just helped at the sell season mostly. Yeah. But not that people weren't great back then too.
Right.
It's just been, there was kind of a period of time where you didn't hear it as much, mm-hmm. as I do now, which is really nice.
Yeah. And I mean, the Central Coast is, you know, also it's just a beautiful place to live. And there's so many, you know, things that is happening. People are growing food. I think people, at least here, you know, are a little more connected to, you know, farming, you know, agriculture,
right.
You know, whereas, you know, I lived down in LA and it was like very foreign. You're like, I got to go 2 hours to go get my Christmas tree or something, you know what I mean? It just was not the culture down there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we were happy to do it, actually. Like, we were in Palm Springs and we drove all the way to Oak Glen, and it was about 2.5 hours, and we made a whole day of it. We're like, we go to the Mexican restaurant with our Christmas tree. You know? It's like every year, and the kids loved it, and it was great. You know?
Yeah. Dad, like you said though, you can always see the dad out there.
Oh yeah.
going, how am I going to get that on the car?
How am I going to get this?
You guys stop doing that. Stop hitting each other. Or stop throwing sticks.
Exactly. No, we got to keep the windows down. No, no, you get to sit. I always tell my kids, you got to be on top, on the ceiling, on the roof. We'll put the tree inside. So, all right, cool, man. Anything else you want to add or tell people out there that's listening? I will definitely post everything, like tag you and all that stuff. But anything that people need to know, or the stuff that you have, year round, like anything else that you have going during the year, because she was saying you guys wanted to bring people, on the farm, year round, hopefully. Maybe.
Yeah. We're working on
okay.
We're working on that part of it.
Fair enough.
No, just we have some, if putting a tree in your house is not your thing, we have other items. We've got some really nice handmade wreaths that we do right on the farm.
Oh, nice.
And they're made with materials right from our farm.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not when the super busy weekends, but we are open Thursday. I think we're going to have a few later hours this year. Yeah, for pre-cuts only on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Thursday and Friday. Yeah.
Thursday, Friday evenings.
I just show up when they tell me to. Yeah, and then if you come if the first weekend is probably not the great weekend to come and just walk around and have a good time.
Right.
But I tell people just come and come out and have some cider, and maybe you'll see a wreath you like, but just come and check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
I saw a tree farmer back in Pennsylvania on social media where he's encouraging people that don't want one in their house to cut a small tree and decorate it and put it on their porch. That was a great idea.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. So there's different ways to support us.
Yeah, always, right? Yeah, support local business. And anything else we need to mention by either of you guys that we haven't yet?
The experience?
Yeah, like when you get there.
Oh, yeah. So, we started doing this. This is one of the things Orally and I did when we first kind of took over the tree farms. We hire local high school kids to work at our farm, and they're great. They're really fun. So they help us direct all the customers. You come in, you park, and parking can be kind of tight, so you got to be a little patient with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because we like to plant trees and not parking spots.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit limited with that, but it's not too bad. And we have kids to direct you. We have cider. We have some other popcorn, and then we actually give people saws to cut their trees down, and we have carts, and we have a map, and we direct you around. And then some people will spend a fair amount of time looking for a tree. Which you have to do sometimes on our farm because you can't just look out there and they're all the same.
Right.
There's all the 4-5 foot trees to cut down right there. You kind of. It's a little bit of a hunt, which a lot of people like.
Yeah.
And then we have carts to drag, cut tree on, and you can take it over. You can get it shook. You can get it belled. We have stands.
They should probably bring some gloves, though, yeah?
Gloves are good for whoever's going to do the actual cutting.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, because that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, I need gloves. Yeah. I always bring gloves. But
some good shoes for walking around in because it is a farm.
Some jeans and some boots and stuff. Yeah. Was that, did we cover that? Or Grandpa's recipe?
Oh, for the cider. Yeah, old family recipe.
Oh, the cider's an old family recipe, huh?
Yeah.
The OG, the original guy.
OG, yeah.
Oh, okay. Hopefully there's some secret sauce in there, Yeah, sweet. Anything else that we need to mention before I let you go? I'm sure you guys got plenty of work to do at the farm.
Yeah, she made a great point about turning a farm back into a business where people come to.
Yeah.
It's actually, it's amazing how farmy it gets over 3 or 4 or 5 months, And then all of a sudden you got to realize, well, we got to
people are gonna walk
clean
through
it up.
Yeah.
And, you know, we like to try to clean it up a little bit for various reasons, but just, you know, be presentable, because when you're farming, you don't worry so much about leaving your Starbucks cup sitting somewhere or picking it up. You say,
I got tools and you know,
well, that too.
But sure, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you leave different, you know, we have these turners, these metal turners. I mean, it's just endless.
Yeah.
You know, got to fill in the valve holes and, you know, all kinds of stuff that people don't even realize that you use during the farming part, but you definitely don't want it to be around when people come.
Right. Yeah. For like safety and, you know, all that stuff and presentation and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I think this has been great. Anything else you think or that people need to know? Other than, you know, go buy a tree from you guys. I mean,
yeah, you know, really I've always thought that, I mean, there at one time there was 12 or 15 cut and choose tree farms in the North County.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was quite a few, like early 80s. And they've slowly gone out for, I mean, the main reason that tree farms go away, and it's true of the Tree Farm Association, if you go to the meeting, most of the people are old.
Yeah.
You know, for various reasons. When we in California land, you know, nobody's buying some land to plant a tree farm. It's not like it's that lucrative. Right. I always looked at, you know, like the guys in Napomo and stuff. You know, I think we're all good. If you buy a live tree, that's great.
Yeah.
You know, whether you get it from us or another local tree farm. You know, I think our competition is really plastic trees.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
And you know, and then the demographic, like you said, you know, older folks with their kids, they don't generally, you know, they kind of age out of a little bit, getting a tree.
Which, I mean, I'm happy to bring a tree in for my mom. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not a big deal.
That's what our wreaths are for, right? You can always come.
Or that, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Or your funky little trees, you get little tiny ones, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And chestnuts, yeah. We actually have chestnut trees. My father-in-law planted chestnut trees. God, they got to be about 20, 25 years old now.
Oh, wow.
And they're not like you see in the store. These
big fat ones?
No, yeah, they're big, fat, and they really have a lot of moisture in them when they're fresh. So they're not all dried out and everything. I think so we have them every year that people can purchase. It's funny because that is not something that people from the West Coast are familiar with.
No, I'm not.
We'll get people who grew up in New York or even overseas, and they'll go, "Oh, you got chestnuts?" Because this is something that they always would have at Christmas.
Yeah, it's definitely a Christmas thing, but yeah, definitely here. I've never done that ever. Yeah. So you just roast them, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, you just roast them. You know, there's a certain way you kind of cut them because they've got two different skins, kind of like walnut. But yeah, you just roast them, and they're really good.
Oh, nice.
Really good. I mean, they taste totally different than any other nut, I think.
And you said they're like huge too, huh?
Yeah, they get pretty big. We have a couple of different varieties.
That's cool.
And they're really pretty. They're planted along the driveway. They're all there. That's actually happens in October when they drop.
Oh, okay. And then you just pick them up and get them ready.
Yeah, you just pick them up.
I'm sure
There's
that's not
job.
just simple.
Yeah.
You're like,
Actually, no, it is that simple. But I mean, sometimes they're
in
their husk, and it's a whole thing as usual.
But that's cool. I mean, that's awesome that you guys do that.
Yeah.
I got to try that for sure.
Yeah, we try to roast some and have them so people can try them. It depends on how busy it is.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think that's it. I mean, if you guys are good, and I'll wrap this up and we'll put it all together and I'm gonna try and get it out soon here because it's gotta come out. So
yeah.
But thanks for coming and hanging out for a little bit.
Sure.
And you guys, it's a busy season,